Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Fiber Broadband Association webinar. Get your share, 5 keys to know ASAP about the $42 billion BEAD program. It's presented today by Broadband.Money. I'm Trish Ehlers, Vice President of Membership, Industry Affairs, and Operations for FBA. Today, I am very pleased to welcome Jase Wilson, CEO of Broadband.Money. Welcome, Jase. To give you a little background information, Broadband.Money helps local broadband providers get the resources they need in order to win. Broadband.Money came from Ready.net, builders of incumbent-grade software and financial services for local ISPs, whose mission is to help local broadband pros connect more families and businesses to better broadband services. Ready.net learned from customers that despite billions of dollars in broadband grants, qualified applicants with established track records are still expected to walk through hot coals and broken glass in order to obtain their share. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that, often working hundreds of hours in order to build their applications. As a result, many skilled, qualified local providers choose not to apply, ceding their winnings to incumbents with lobbyists, grant teams, and sophisticated data tools. That's why Ready.net launched Broadband.Money, the fastest way to discover and win your share of broadband grants in the upcoming IIJA programs. With Broadband.Money, local providers and communities can uncover areas of opportunity and research where to apply with loads of data sets in one easy-to-use geospatial interface. They can reduce headaches and propose and organize the many supporting documents your project applications will require. They can save time and apply to multiple states from a single application. They can get help and add your consultant to your application or find great consultants through the program. They can match with community and provider partners. They can line up match capital from a variety of sources, depending on your project plan and needs, and much, much more. Winners also get one-touch ongoing reporting for federal, state, and jurisdictional reports, saving you time, money, and hassle. Broadband.Money applicants will also receive the Ready ISP bundle, a great collection of freebies, discounts, and services from Broadband.Money's expert partner affiliates, currently valued at over $250,000. And now for a few housekeeping details before we get started. I will change my screen here. All attendees are in listen mode only today. If you have a question at any time, and we're going to be taking them throughout the presentation, please submit it with the questions box on your control panel on the right side of your screen. We'll have time at the Q&A session at the end to talk with Chase about that. Today's webinar will be available on the FBA website for members only under the Events/Webinars tab within 24 hours. And also, please join us on Wednesday, tomorrow, February 16th, at 10 a.m. Eastern for episode 7 of Fiber for Breakfast, Construction Digitization, Digital Transformation for the Metaverse Era. Gary Bolton, FBA's President and CEO, along with Subbu Miyappan of EC Site and Sean Adam of AFL will discuss how construction digitization can aid in addressing many of the challenges and inefficiencies in the deployment of optical networks. And now I would like to welcome today's panelist, Jase Wilson, CEO of Broadband.Money, who works to help broadband professionals win. Welcome, Jase. So very glad to have you here today. And with that, I am going to transfer the controls over to you so you can take the presentation from here. There you
Awesome.
go, your screen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Trish, and also thank you, Jennifer, and Fiber Broadband Association for the chance to connect. And thank you, everybody on this call, for making time. I'm figuring out how to share my screen here. Make sure I'm doing this right.
Will it come up?
Can you see the screen?
We got it. Perfect.
All right, technology. Yeah, thank you, folks, for taking time out of your day. I know you're very busy. Hopefully this is informative. I'm posting into the chat ways, if any of this is helpful, ways that you can get in touch in the future. But I want to say again, thank you, Trish, for that awesome intro. I wish you would do this for me, this talk. I'm very nervous, but if I don't show it, so you might have tuned in live to watch a guy pass out on a webcam, but if that happens, Trish, I think you could definitely take this over and probably do a better job than me. So I appreciate you. And also Jennifer, thank you both for making so much effort to get this connected, and folks on the call, thanks for joining. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit today about, some things that you should know as soon as possible about the upcoming $42 billion BEAD program, and a little bit about Broadband Money, the system that we've been building to help local projects and providers get their share of that program. So, but first I want to reiterate, thank you all. If you're on the call, you're either joining to watch a guy pass out on a webcam, or, you're in the business of helping connect people, and families and businesses, and that means a lot to us at Broadband.Money and Ready. We don't need to tell you any of this stuff. It's very important what you're doing. Our country right now, it's, post-COVID, there's a digital canyon. There's 7 in 100 kids, according to Pew, didn't get a chance to go to school at all online during multiple national lockdowns. So it's very important what you're doing. And full disclosure, folks, and this gives you a sense of how important it is what you're doing. I live in the Bay Area in San Francisco, but in my town, there are no fiber providers. So I'm not on a fiber connection. I'm on a crappy old copper connection. So if I'm stuttering or jittering or juking and jiving, it's not necessarily because I'm terrible at this. Probably it's that, but also, I'm on a crappy old copper line. So, thank you for building folks and getting folks connected to fiber in the future. And it's your time. If nothing else, just know, you've been in the business for years. You've been working around the clock to get people connected, to help broadband providers get, the tools and resources they need, the fiber that they need. And what's coming is insane, right? It's a tsunami of grants. So, we built this system, Broadband.Money, to help local providers and projects get their share. A quick note about who is it for? It's for applicants. They're directly applying, right, to BEAD and its sibling programs, but that could be a community, that could be a local ISP, right, that's mom and pop, that could be a utility that runs an ISP or is starting an ISP, that could be rural electric cooperatives, right, that either have an ISP or looking to start one. And then there are lots of other flavors, but the common denominator is it's folks that are, in the business of operating connectivity. So it's also for their partners, right? One thing to know for sure about Broadband Money is it's not a consultant. It does make it really easy to invite your consultant or your project team into your application, and we'll get a look at that here in a few minutes. But it's not on its own a consultant, and our recommendation is that you either have the consultant that you've worked with in the past, or we're working on a directory of awesome expert partner consultants that can help you to fill out your application and make the most of it. So yeah, it's also for the communities that are going to be teaming up with these great providers. It's also for the investors that are putting capital into the match capital requirement for the program, and it's also for vendors that make awesome stuff that want to see their customers get their share of the grant money. So yeah. To date, we launched it in late last year as a pre-enrollment process. Many of you on this call today, we have seen you, and some of you have even sat down to have a conversation with for the pre-enrollment process. Over 390 applicants so far, targeting over 6 million additional demand points, majority of which will be fiber, have pre-enrolled so far, covering 50 states and 3 of the territories. North of $7 billion in grants sought in applicants through the system, and that's going to take at least $1.7 billion worth of match capital from a bunch of different sources, which we'll cover on this call, some of the interesting creative sources that you can think about. we'll pause right there. Trish, how am I doing? What do you think? Can folks hear me? Is it? Do I need to adjust my face or anything? Trish?
You're doing fine, Jason.
Sweet, thanks. Just want to make sure. All right, so what is it? What is Broadband.Money? It's a collection of tools, data, and resources designed to help local broadband projects and providers win their share of the upcoming grant programs. And on one side, it's a tech-enabled operations and reporting system, right? And on the other side, it's easy to follow geospatial insights. And in both cases, it's a single platform that allows you to connect with resources, community partners, investors for match capital, plug in your existing grant consultant, or like I said, we're working on a directory of awesome expert partners that you can select through the system if you don't already have one, and all those bells and whistles that you need. So take a quick look at one aspect of it, and you know how demos go, tech demos, so please bear with me here. I think we want to start here. This is a quick glance at the system, and I'm sort of showing you halfway through an onboarding process, so please bear with me if it doesn't quite go as we expected, but this is taking a look at a place in my home state of Missouri, and let's go through it. So we're walking through some stuff, a quick tour of the system. For folks that are pre-enrolled, we're in the process of rolling out beta access invites. We just sent the first 5 yesterday. We're going to do batches of 5 until we get to fully stable, and then we'll turn it on for the early access period, which anybody that was pre-enrolled prior to date will be in part of that period next month. So this all is coming soon.
Can you hear me?
Sweet, thanks.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
For some reason, my mic wasn't working, but I'm back on. So.
Hey, well, it's good to hear you. And yeah, let's take a look. And by the way, folks on the call, I'm just a spokes dude. There's some insanely talented computer scientists and data scientists, broadband folks, a really great team at Ready and Broadband.Money that built this set of systems. And we've worked with some really great folks from the industry to kind of make sure that we have our bearings and that it's working the way that it should. And our existing customer base at Ready is won a combined $1.35 billion of prior grant programs, and it was very much inspired by the journey that they go through, the hot coals and fire that Trish mentioned in the intro, that we built it. And so there's a lot of hard-working folks that go into it. I'm just the guy that wears a $3 trucker hat and sits on calls and gets to hang out with awesome folks like you. So so we're looking around, we're seeing like some data sets that you'd normally have to pull together from a bunch of different sources in order to put all this stuff together in one place. You're seeing it all in sort of one setting here, and you'll notice that it's not just for the advertised speed, the sense of the FCC, for example. It's also UCLA, but we also grain of salt UCLA. Like, you have to remember that they're of course advertising sponsored, and it's going to be really interesting to see in areas where there's arguably unserved and unserved areas where the dividing line sits in the difference between like which data set does the state choose to think about, right? So we want to present them all to you in one place, show you your competition, show you who's won prior awards, show you some of the socio-demographics that you might be interested in, and then give you the ability to sort of build your application footprint, right? And in the interest of time, I'll sort of skip ahead for that, but you also have the ability to go in and edit your application once we're live. Again, I'm walking through this system. I think it's going to lock me out until I've actually gone through there. So let's try a different one real fast. Broadband. Nope. To environment. Okay, I won't be able to show you the application process for right now, but you get asked a ton of questions, and it's really cool the way it sort of holds your hand. And if you apply and you want to add your consultants in, like, you're able to plug them into your application, which I won't be able to show you that either, but yeah, so we'll move forward on this demo. Maybe it'll work by the time I'm done, but the cool thing about it is, there's a bunch of other tools that we're not going to have time to show today that give you, if you're operating a network, if you're able to provide service to folks for your project, like, it gives you better than incumbent grade subscriber experience tools. There's all kinds of fun stuff that's built into it that are all optional, but it's ability to sort of add additional revenue to your top line, save a little bit on your bottom line in the form of more efficient operations and all kinds of great stuff there. So yeah, but let's go into the things that, yeah, hey.
Shall we take a break and do a poll question real quick?
Yeah, please go ahead, fire out the poll. That'd be awesome.
Let's do that. Let's get a read on kind of where the audience is in terms of their grant applications. So for everybody who's on right now, have you already gotten started, or are you planning to do so on your grant application? So we've got 5 options there. We've got those who started 1 to 3 months, within the past month, not sure, starting within a month, or within 1 to 3 months from now. So we'll let that go for just another couple seconds, and then I'll get back on and read it. But that'll give you an idea of where the audience is at. And looks like they're pretty on the ball. So I'm going to close that poll out and pull the results back up. So 53% has not started. So they're unsure kind of if or when they're going to start, but we do have 24% that started 1 to 3 months ago. And then we've got 12% that started within the last month. So, that's the top 3 categories are kind of where everything is clustered. So I will turn it back to you, my friend, and hand it off for the next segment.
Thanks to folks that responded to the poll. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, so let's roll into some things to know about the programs, right? Whether or not you're pre-enrolled in Broadband.Money, these things hopefully are useful to you. So first of all, get on their radar, and by they we mean everybody that's involved in the coming decision-making processes. That's your state or states, right? That's, in some states' cases, the local communities, right, that are going to be shot callers in a lot of this process, right? And that's really awesome. It's very different from the prior grant programs in a lot of ways. It does mean, like, if you want to participate in this program, your best move right now is to get known, right? It's not a sort of, wait until the specs come out and then wait until the application portal comes out and then, suddenly pounce on it behind the scenes, which is sort of the FCC traditional process of, everybody's going to hold their cards close to their chest and, do their own bid. This program is going to be very much, who does the community endorse, right? Who's known by those state directors, right? You're going to still get a chance to submit all of your plan, of course, right? But it's going to be a competitive advantage if you're already known and you already have a good track record that you can point to, right? Because this money is going to be hyper competitive, right? And so any of you that have been working on, a plan for a really long time, get it published. Any of you that have been providing internet service for a long time and you have a good track record, like, get that word out there, right? So one way you can do that are the ISP directories, right? And there's a lot of great ISP directories out there. A lot of them are advertising driven, so we'll show you a real fast one that we made that plugs into the application process for Broadband.Money, but you can also just use it separately as a standalone thing. It's completely free. It's advertising free. It's a neutral directory of all providers. As far as we can tell, we constantly get people pinging us like, hey, add us, right? So I'll just show you really quickly, like I mentioned earlier, where I live in in Livermore, California, there are no fiber providers, right, that do residential fiber, right? As you can see here, there's one in my neighbor's place, but down the street, but not in my neighborhood. So, and look, if you look at this directory, a couple of things to note. Some of you on the call are rural electric cooperatives, right, of which there are none in the Livermore area. But that's something that we tag here in this directory. It's something that we celebrate. Like, if you're a community-owned network, we, try to track with that. And that way, when you get to examples like advertising-driven directories, if you were to say like, Wilson, North Carolina's got like one of the greatest local networks ever built, right? And if you go to say like a Broadband Now, which is very much like an advertising-driven site, and you look up Wilson, it's like number one's like incumbent A, number two is incumbent B, right? And then you got like 3 or 4 even like satellite providers, right? And it's like you scroll all the way down and you see Greenlight, right? You see like their amazing local network, right? And that's, to us, that's why we built it this way, is like to celebrate and to promote fiber ISPs, to celebrate and promote community-owned ISPs. And we gather all kinds of wonderful stuff about you from a bunch of different places on the web and put it into one convenient place. And this is one way of being known. Another is to join into the online discussion communities, right? That already exist or that are cropping up as a result of the coming tsunami of grants. One is ours, which you can access, and I put the link in there at discuss.broadband.money. As an example, Carol Miller, who was the director of broadband for the state of New Hampshire, recently announced like she's moving on, and then we have other people that are saying, okay, hey, I'm interested in this for my state. So join those conversations and introduce yourself, right? Is another thing here, because several dozen of the broadband directors and for states and for territories and a lot of the people that they rely on for various parts of their job are in this community. And so you introducing yourself can't hurt, right? And then lastly, like, get in touch with your state broadband offices. And here's one quick way to do it. There's the state broadband office directory at Broadband.Money under resources. And it gives you their contact information, or you can just also fire off a quick note to them, and learn a little bit more about what they're up to. And we're working on a real-time news feed of each state directory, so stay tuned on that. That's coming. All right. And physical communities, of course, right? You're gonna need to team up with like some great local communities, or if you're a local community, you're gonna need to team up with some great local providers, right? So get in that habit already. The sooner that you can get going on your winning team, the better you're gonna do. Okay. And it's getting into the ground level stuff of like how incumbents historically didn't really do their job. Like this process, communities are going to drive a lot of decisions in a lot of states, and that's great, right? Overall, unless you're incumbents, and then that kind of sucks, right? And there's a well-known, well-documented, well-understood track record of incumbents getting grant money from past programs, and at Broadband.Money, we joke about it being allocated to the wrong Bs, right? Instead of broadband, it went to things like bonuses and buybacks and frankly BS in a lot of cases of marketing, even if you're not serving in the area. And that crap goes out the window with this program, which is cool, unless you're an incumbent. Whoops. Okay. Number 2, do understand ahead of time the reporting burden, right? This is not like the prior programs. This is night and day compared to prior programs. Some of those prior programs were like, hey, you won $100 million. Congrats. Here's the money, right? Every month into your account, and send us a quarterly spreadsheet, and good luck. And that was basically it, right? And they've worked to toughen that up a little bit, even in retrospect for the prior programs. Some of them, CAF2 is the latest example, RDOF, the NTIA upcoming programs that are being in the process of being announced, all learned from, the sort of reporting situations of those programs. But in this new program, be clear from the outset that there is a huge reporting burden, right? But it's also an opportunity if you're in the business of like connecting people to better broadband and you want to do a bleep job at doing it. What you would do is like use the upcoming reporting requirements, which are all baked into the Broadband.Money reporting system, as an opportunity, right, to get really good really fast, right? So let's take a quick look at some of that. How do I do that? Let's see. 1 second here. Yeah, on one side, I'm showing you like another aspect of the system, which is a complete reporting system that's built in, the ability to manage all of your subscribers in one place. It can attach to your OSS, your BSS systems. It can attach to your network monitoring systems. And even if you have multiple vendors and you're running a heterogeneous network, which by our data, 98% of you are, it puts everything together in one place for you and keeps track of all the wonderful stuff. And if you're out publishing plans and you're like a lot of our customers, you have plan zones. You don't have like the plan, right? You have, well, in this community with this infrastructure, I'm charging X, and these services are included. Over here, I'm doing something a little bit different. So that's all stuff that's baked into the system, and the ability to set service definitions and sort of map it, which is going to be very handy for you in the upcoming broadband nutrition facts label equivalent, right? That's going to be its own set of challenges. But in it sits also a complete reporting system, including a detailed audit trail of everything that happens, all of the wonderful revenue reports that you're going to need to work with, your taxing reports, and everything that you would ever need to really go in and understand at a glance. It's all in there, right? And so it's not full automation. There are some wonderful partners in the ecosystem like ETI software that builds great automation tools. This is, in contrast, it's basically semi-automatic. It's trying to get it as close to one touch as possible for the things that you're going to need to submit. Okay, and then two, it's not going to be just a spreadsheet of like, yeah, we got this many demand points, this quarter. It's going to be in many cases monthly. In many cases, it's also going to include active measurements. In some cases, it's going to include proactive measurements, right? In some of these cases, they're going to be, things that you're going to need to submit on a randomized basis. They're going to be things that you need to submit that you need to understand are going to happen even if you're not the submitter, right? They're going to be like sort of secret shopper kinds of tests. So another thing to think about is when you're building out your testing, our system puts it all together in one place. It can talk to all of your network monitoring systems and bring all that fact finding together for you in one place and put together one report. And then for active measurements, when you're looking for those, like you can go and build and test this out. This is our active measurement system, right? That's showing you my really crappy not fiber in action right now. But the key difference is, unlike prior systems, it uses WebSockets, right? So it's going to give you a really detailed understanding of a specific subscriber's real-time observations, right? So that's all coming. That's going to be part of your reporting program. So keep that in mind. Number three is to question your assumptions, right? And we've spoken with over 75 of the pre-enrolled folks of the 390 plus that have pre-enrolled, and we've gotten a pretty good understanding. We've gathered our favorite assumptions, and I'm going to run through a few of them right now.
Hey, Jase, it's Trish.
Hey, Trish.
Hi. It might be a good time to run our second poll, since we're talking about assumptions and things that folks think about when they are applying for broadband grants. So shall we give it a shot? All right, cool.
Let's do it. Yep.
All right. So when it comes to applying for broadband grants, what do you assume are your biggest challenges? 1, not knowing what to do. 2, lining up suitable match capital. 3, developing the project plan. 4, researching where to apply or market analysis. And 4, designing the target network. So we'll give this a few more minutes. We've got some definite activity, and I am seeing your questions come in. We are going to get those to Jase, so keep those coming. All right, we're going to close the poll. We'll get you the answers here. So 46% biggest challenge, they don't know what to do. So from our perspective, that's something we see a lot. on the FBA side, and I know we're working and you're working to help with that. 35% researching where to apply. There's so many different grants out there and different programs. 25% lining up a suitable match capital. 14% developing the project plan, and 12% designing the target network. So there you go, and I will flip it back to you for getting to people's assumptions.
Awesome. Thank you, Trish. When this is all said and done, we want to send you one of these $3 trucker hats for all of your hard work here. So
hey, you promised that before. You better come through, man.
Well, yeah, we get you one.
All right. I'm counting on it.
Let's see. So since a number of you are having challenges with what to do, one thing to know is that if none of this is set in stone, and that it's still very much fluid in a lot of the state's cases, right? So one assumption that we've heard is like, yeah, we're waiting for the rules. A wait and see attitude in this case is probably not a winning strategy, right? And in many cases, the definitions are still very fluid about states as they're figuring out and lining it up. Those states want to hear from you, right? If you're in the business of connecting people, right, their state offices, a lot of those folks are economic development. They're working their tails off to get plans in place, to get everything lined up, to be neutral, and to help make sure that they're going to make the most of this historic opportunity. But you have the knowledge, right? You've been connecting people. You've been building parts that go into networks. You've been, part of their supply chains. You've been consultants to some of the big projects in the country, right? Or you've done projects in the past, right? As communities on the call, or you've learned something, right? Get loud about that stuff. Go and share that stuff with communities like Discuss.Broadband.Money, and I'm sure there are other great communities out there, but just don't assume that, those things are set in stone or that they're just going to be given to you, right? And you have to accept them as they are. That said, you have to move very quickly, right? Because everything, all the wheels are in motion. We track very closely with each of the states and territories. A few of them look to us like they're going to be, no one's going to get a goose egg, right? Like your minimum for not participating in the planning is $100 million, but the vast majority of them look like they're already well into motion on the planning. Okay, but you should weigh in on the plan. The planning process, it's not sacred. It should not be something that's guided by the incumbents that have the best looking lobbyists that can take the people out for steak dinners. It should be guided by people like you that have rolled up your sleeves and gotten people connected. Okay, so get loud about what you know. And paradox is the more that you share, the more that rep you build online in improvable ways, the more helpful that you prove yourself to be in that regard, the more you're on the minds of people that are making decisions about the funding, okay? So, share what you know. As one of our expert partner vendors that we'll announce in a couple of weeks said, put it to us, a community that's waiting is already, the project is already dead, right? That's hyperbolic, but it's, let that resonate a little bit. You got to get moving now. Another is it's never too early to start building your understanding. So I wanted to show you really quickly, everybody, another resource that you have in the Resource Center. Check back, bookmark it. It's okay right now. It's going to get better and better each week as we deploy more resources. We're sinking quite a bit of resource and investment with awesome legal teams. Our friends at Broadband Breakfast, they're out doing like huge amounts of research, right? There's a bunch of great stuff that's coming together. So in the end, it'll hopefully be the most helpful broadband grant resource center. It's also neutral. Like if you want to understand sort of from a perspective that's like very much open to anybody, all walks, like it's a great place to do that. There's all kinds of stuff, including, directory of terms, the state broadband office directory that we looked at. Coming soon are like key excerpts and highlights and like, lawyers that speak English as well, translating those into lay speak so that it's like, the sort of technical dense definition that was, $5,000 an hour to write. And then the, version that's stripped of $5 words that, makes sense to guys like me. So yeah, if I can read it, then it's good. But and then there's all kinds of like other resources and a wonderful array of things like that we've done to like community events. Like we just did an Ask Me Anything, for example, with the father of the internet, Vint Cerf, right? That's a must watch in my view because there were all kinds of really cool, insights, especially about the points about mapping and about measurements and monitoring. And Vint was, not only like the co-creator of the initial protocol of the internet, but also, a huge early proponent of MLab and getting things, going in the right direction with open monitoring and measurement. So very cool stuff there. So keep checking back, and then yeah, let's see. Back to my presentation there. Yeah. And then you know what they say about assumption. I know it's a bad joke, but anyway. Another assumption that we keep hearing is like, gigabit's gonna be fine. Is it? One of the things that we love most about Fiber Broadband Association is that everybody is like committed to fiber, right? To its fullest extent possible. Is it gonna go everywhere? No. Is it gonna go most places? Hopefully, right? And that's what's cool about what y'all are doing to connect our nation to each other and to the future, is fiber is, the one that you can do and over time make it better and better and better, including in capacity and throughput. And in this case, like you got to remember Nielsen's law. It's a little slower than Moore's law on the processing side, but not by much, right? And it's held true for almost 4 decades. So there's no real reason to think that it's not going to hold true for the next decade. And if it holds true for the next decade, in fact, even if you cut it in half, right, and you take it from a 48% CAGR down to a 25% CAGR, you still end up with the hard reality that the average American household in 2030 will regard gigabit as adequate at best, if not completely, useless. So, keep pulling that fiber, keep advocating for multi-gigabit, and don't make that assumption, right? And then a final one that I'll share is we hear a lot of folks that think like, well, historically the programs, that came about were awarded to incumbents, and they use the money to crush me. They use the money to advertise on advertising-driven directories and billboards, even if they're not serving in the area. They spent the money on bonuses, buybacks, BS, and they have really good-looking lobbyists with lots of staked in their budgets. And I don't have any of that crap, and so I'm not going to get the money on this one. This program is not business as usual. This program is very different from prior programs on purpose. And this program, if it's done correctly, can go into your hands, right? But you got to be ready to receive it and ready to step up and get your share of it. Okay. And that gets back to like getting networked, to get known, right? Challenge those assumptions, all right? And then, I forgot one that's important. We've heard this one 5 times now, so we want to share it with you. It's either a variant that, well, if an area received RDOF award, it's not going to receive IIJA. Or another variant of that is they're just going to call off RDOF 1, right? And we agree that RDOF 2 is probably dead in the water, right? But if you look at the latent litigation that's like waiting on the sidelines to sue the FCC if they don't follow through with that commitment, that's a pretty big decision, right? That's a big assumption to make that they're going to just call off RDOF 1 or like say, you know what, we're actually replacing it with this program. And then 2, there are provisions inside of IIJA to say, yes, it's up to the states to decide how they want to carve out where, award areas might overlap existing award areas. And so some states might say, we only want one or the other, right? But think about the mental math of that, right? Why would you turn down that additional investment, infrastructure and service into your state? And then especially knowing that RDOF, like, yeah, it's supposed to be out the door already on all the cases, but it's inching along. There's a real need right now in rural areas for connectivity yesterday, right? So why on earth would any state say, well, we're going to actually cancel, any RDOF, we're not going to actually, allow it to be awarded with IIJA and cause any kind of possible sort of mutual exclusion of the 2 programs. So that one we say like, do your own homework on it, right? But we did it, we double, triple checked it ourselves. We see the interagency coordination, we see murmurs of it, but we also see that harsh reality that like, that's a multi-billion-dollar, thing waiting in the sidelines if it goes the direction of canceling RDOF 1. And it's also, something where it would go against a lot of the principles of what everybody at the FCC works so hard to ensure, right, of that program, right, of getting people connected fast. So don't necessarily make that assumption either. All right, Trish, since we're going on to another point, what do you think about another poll question? Is it time?
I think it's time, Jase. So why don't we pull up? We've got one last poll question. Let's pull it up. You're getting good at this. All right. Additionally, when it comes to applying for broadband grants, what's your biggest challenge? Partnering with communities, partnering with skilled providers, unclear plans from your state, or organizing application information. So all of these sound pretty difficult to me, but keep in mind FBA's got that playbook coming out. So that should assist with that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll down and we'll get those results back up. So 52% unclear plans from your state. So that's a major roadblock there. 36% organizing your application information, 22% partnering with communities, and 11% partnering with skilled providers. So, and you were allowed multiple answers on that. So that's the reason I think we've got more than 100% there, Jase. But there is your poll.
That's great to hear. Thank you, Trish.
You bet.
All right, well, match capital, a couple of things, like the point to make is to get creative with it. Be open-minded about it, right? We're releasing a resource center node around match capital that's pretty in-depth. It's going to track with like all the different awesome sources. The thing to know about IIJA though is like it's beautifully expressive and inclusive for match capital sources, right? It pairs nicely with things like ARPA, right? And smart communities know that they could take that a step further and say, got ARPA coming, maybe we can bond against, in anticipation, right? These are interesting plays from prior infrastructure playbooks, but there's no reason to think that there's a shortage of match capital. However, if you're a private provider and the community model that you end up with is a public-private partnership and you still need match capital from the private sector, yeah, there's equity and debt, and those come in a bunch of different flavors. Make sure that you do a lot of conversations with a lot of potential partners. One of the beautiful things about if you're a Broadband.Money enrollee is, you answer the diligence questionnaire on behalf of a huge network of different types of match capital provider. So you don't have to repeat that diligence process with every investor, right, that you're sitting down with. And that's going to save you a lot of time. It's also going to help you to put your best foot forward, right? It's going to help you to focus on your fundamentals and helping you tell your story and helping you, stand out, right, as they're gearing up. And there are many billions of dollars of private money being raised or have already been raised in anticipation of this program. You're going to have your pick, right? But you're going to need to work a lot to get, access. The most prepared communities and projects that are able to get their ducks in a row soon and get in front of those types of investors, from all stripes as fast as possible. They're going to be the ones that win. They're going to be the ones that enter the diligence process first. They're going to be top of mind, right? They're going to have additional months of time for feedback and iterations to get to closure on something that works for all the parties, right? So get creative, interview a lot of folks, answer all the questions to the best of your abilities, get proactive where you can. One aspect of our system, if you're running one of the top billing systems in the market, we can install, an analytics.js that can track it at a source of truth for your top line. Those types of things are very good, and they also open up new dimensions of match capital from different sources. Like there's this growing movement of forward receivables that fall under that banner that want to purchase, your future cash flow. And that can be a really interesting sort of non-dilutive, non-debt exercise. And yeah, there's all kinds of great stuff, but the key there is to be very creative. And so that creativity in our view starts with like sort of an understanding of a universe of possibilities. Right, so stay tuned to the Resource Center, and if you're pre-enrolled, like you're gonna get, and you told us like 74% of you said, you know, your indicated interest in match capital, like that means that we get to help you with that part of the journey. And the other part of that is like get creative, but also do it now. You know, don't wait until the very end. Several of our customers have, you know, won very large awards in prior programs, and one common denominator that we found is like at the end of the program, they're like, oh yeah, you know, we won, you know, well, let's go and get serious about it. And it goes from like a letter of something to, no, let's get into the nitty gritty. And, you know, it turns into a multi-month delay on getting the award, and you don't want that, right? So make sure that you're getting that stuff lined up sooner rather than later. Cool. That was one. That was another thing, Trish. So what do you think? Is it time for another poll?
Well, I think we've done our polls. We've had 3. So let's go through your number 5, and then let's start answering some questions, because we've got a number of questions. Cool.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Well, number 5 is, you know, back to that theme of a get going now is build your winning team, right? You're not alone in this, right? A number of you indicated that you don't know what's going on. You're not alone in that either, as you saw, right? At the same time, like, you know, communities, if you're already working on programs, it's a great time to start interviewing strong local providers, right? If you want pre-enroll at Broadband.Money, like we can help you matchmake. You can go and find some great providers in the community. There are directories like isp.me where you can go and see, you know, who's serving in what area. Get to know them, see who you like, right? See who has the track record of service, and you know, both sides reach out. Like it's time to dance, okay? And then there's a community of expert partners coming together. Like many of you have already started the process. Many of you have already won grant awards in the past, and you've used, you know, great consultants, right? So it's time to be talking to them about this upcoming program. It's time to be engaging with them, right? And you know, the folks that are coming into the process that have products and services, right, that, you know, can be used by applications. Like there's some really great technologies out there that can be used for different parts of the network planning and design process, getting things set up and getting established, getting the equipment in place. Like it's a great time to be going around and putting together the what ifs, like with the main what if being, well, what if we win? You know, then what? Yeah, so get your plan going, get your team going. It's really important to start that process. So, and you know, we want to be helpful wherever we can and to be a part of your team. Like our mission here at Broadband.Money is to help local providers and projects get their share of the upcoming programs so that y'all can go out and connect more families and businesses to better broadband. Full stop, right? And it's, again, I'm the spokes dude, right? But there's an incredibly talented team of engineers, data science folks, and a community of folks that we've engaged to help you, right, with every step of that process. And so one thing to know is, like, as Trish mentioned at the beginning, you know, there's the Ready ISP bundle. It's already valued over $250,000. We'll be announcing it hopefully next month with our friends at Telecompetitor. So stay tuned for that. But it's a collection of resources and freebies and scale discount opportunities with some awesome vendors. You know, where if you say you have 1,000 subscribers today and you have a vision of getting to 10,000 subscribers, how much better could you do on your application? How much money could you save if you had the purchasing power of a 100,000 subscriber operator, right? That's the kind of scale things that we're putting together for you, right? So we want to be on your team. We want to get whatever data you need, like, you know, ping us anytime. Pre-enrollees have, you know, direct channels of access to us, like, and we're there for you. So, yeah, think about us on your team, all right? And I just want to say thank you again to the Fiber Broadband Association, right? And everybody that's a member here that's on the call today. Thank you for getting folks connected, for sharing your time. and doing all the awesome work that you're doing. We know that you're working your tails off, and like we said, we're here to help. If you want to pre-enroll in the system, it's at Broadband.Money. There's a community of folks. You can find it through Broadband.Money or go straight to discuss.broadband.money and join into 300 plus different folks that are out working to get folks connected and introduce yourselves, right? Keep an eye on that resource center. It's going to be increasingly awesome. It's already pretty decent now. And if you need anything and you don't want to go to any of those websites, just hit us up at welcome@broadband.money and we'll reply as soon as we can. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you, Jase. We do have some great questions. The first one, just to clarify, can you explain, we had somebody say, what is pre-enrolled versus what is enrolled? Just kind of explain those terms you were using.
Pre-enroll is 4 minutes, and anybody can go to the site Broadband.Money and get access to it. From there, we vet each pre-enrollee to make sure that you're in fact an actual provider, or we'll route you over to the expert partner program if you're, say, a consultant or a vendor that wants to help customers win their share. That's a separate flow for such folks, and there are front doors for you too, and we welcome working with you and teaming up and helping mutual customers win. But the pre-enrollment process is 4 minutes. It's maybe 9 questions, and it's very lightweight. Enrollment is, if you indicated interest in match capital, there are 38 diligence questions for financial due diligence, right?
Okay.
It's like, why in the heck would I want to do all that? You're going to need to do that, whether you do it there, and we build a system that allows you to do that as easily as possible, right? In one place, and invite applicant, team members, right, to help you do it. And you'll have to fill that out whether or not you want to do it. If you're going to apply to like multiple states, in some states cases, it's definitely going to be the case that you got to fill out, docs on this state, this state, this state. What we built was like a kind of core. Do you envision like the model that gets built that describes your project and the businesses involved with it? It would be like a tree, and you're answering those core questions once, right? That you're going to find in most of the states, and then it branches out into this specific state wants this specific piece of information, and in your case, like there's this weird recursive thing that you need to go in and so it's going to manage all those workflows for you in one place. So the enrollment is like a longer journey, right? It's going to take you a few days. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Good clarification. Excuse me there. All right. We had a question from PJ. Where are you getting your data set information? FCC, independent directories, where is that something you're willing to share, or is that
yeah, of course.
Okay.
A lot of places.
Okay.
Over 10 sources. Yeah, 477, great. NTIA has its data sets, great. Census has data sets, great. Right, but then there are a number of proprietary data sets, that we've licensed to make available to you. Regrid parcel information, even down to multi-dwelling unit level, right? So that you can develop like a really good understanding in your application footprint of where, there's like 50 buildings in the census block, but there's 350 units, right? And their socio-demographics are such, not just by what does the census say, right? And it's the latest census stuff, which is great to have, right? But also, what do some of the other proprietary data sets say? And also data sets that come from abstractions of things like aggregate outputs of network monitoring systems deployed in an area, right? Those are really interesting things that you'd have to work pretty hard to, like our data team, to put together in one place.
You do, and you pull them all together, which is awesome, and make them available, which I think is fantastic. We had Zach said, first of all, thank you for the overview, Jase. Can you expand on where the speed test data is pulled from? Provided from partner ISPs, the FCC, where from?
Yes, partner ISPs, FCC reported data, UCLA, and MLab. And the active strength test that we developed, right, it leverages WebSockets instead of HTTP only. Where that's getting deployed, we're also pulling that in. So each time somebody goes and takes a test at like one of the surface areas, like a Wi-Fi.wtf, it's also an embeddable plugin that if you're running an ISP website and you want to add free tests, it's not going to, crush you on the results page. Like,
Okay.
you can use it and embed it into WordPress sites and stuff like that. So every time one of those gets taken, right, in a footprint, and you're observing something in that footprint, then that's included as well.
Okay, cool. Question on, do you manage open access networks or connect communities to providers that can manage open access networks?
We don't manage open access networks. We're big fans of open access networks. There are a lot of amazing developers of OWNs in the United States that are working really hard to make that model better and better. We've seen some great software out of groups like COS in Sweden, some of the OGs of open access networks, and but we can definitely pair you with awesome ISPs, right, that are either adjacent to an own market that you're developing, or you want to bring in ringers, right? We've supported that case in a couple of instances with existing customers, and would be more than happy to help you do that on as part of this process. But we don't have anything that manages open access networks directly.
All right. Message from Kate. I am from Colorado and represent the state. Just want to say thank you to Jase and FBA for this. Great presentation. The message has been, we've been saying to the providers in the state and are communicating, and she's very grateful that we are echoing the same message. So just wanted to throw that out there and let you know the feedback. So someone asked, is there a resale program for the software?
Yeah, that's kind of what the expert partner program does. Yeah, that's a great question. It lets you go in and put, if you have multiple entities, and it was built around a couple of really great grant writers that they have to manage not just, this one project, that one project, but stacks and stacks of them. So it was built around the case of like multi-organization management in one place. So it's the entire underlying software was built around role-based accounts and permissioning, right? So and multi-organization and sub-organization architecture that allows you to kind of keep track of like, these 10 applicants. So, that's definitely a valid case and one that's already supported. We welcome, an opportunity to talk about it with you.
Okay, great. We've got time for one more question. I'm gonna take one from William, and then if we didn't get to your question, Jase will get back to you on those. And he shared his contact information. Please feel free to reach out to him. I can truly attest how accessible he is. Would an ISP be better served talking to community level or at the state level? As an example, we may not have network throughout the state, but may have substantial network in a specific region of a state.
Yeah. No,
So
great. It's great, and that's the default case. You're not statewide. You're local, right? But you have the ambition to upgrade your network, to overbuild yourself. Like, say you're a WISP that wants to get into fiber, right? Or say you're for fiber provider and you've connected like these communities, and you want to go to like these 10 extra communities. With whether or not that's like specifically within your one state, you still are going to apply at the state level, right? And it's success to us does look like a lot of folks like that are on the ground, that have the networks. It's like a few hundred to a few thousand subscribers. Maybe it's this corner or quadrant of a state, right? But they're able to expand out into other parts that have been historically overlooked. And, that's something that, we help with too. So is sort of footprint analysis and helping, helping you sort of, figure out where you want to grow. So that's a great case.
Fantastic. Well, we are at the top of the hour, so we're going to have to close the Jase and Trish show. But I want to thank the world's smartest spokesdude for and broadband and ready.net for your presentation today. I think we had a lot of great questions and a lot of information. So please do reach out to Jase if you want more information or have questions. So
Yeah.
Jase, anything you want to say to sign off?
One more thank you. It's hard work
right.
what you're doing out there. Trish, Jennifer, awesome job. I do want to send a shout out. We got upcoming Ask Me Anythings. Next Friday is with Darren Farnans, the COO of United Fiber, is one of the first REC ISPs. It's going to be awesome. And then upcoming in March, we have the wonderful Gary Bolton, right, is going to do a great session. So we're going to grill him, and if you want to give him a hard time, then we're looking for hecklers.
Okay.
So sign up at Broadband.Money.
We can do that. All right. Join us tomorrow for Fiber for Breakfast. Thanks for joining us today. And Jase, we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.